Hi, how are you? My name is Pete, and in this quick video I'm gonna share my opinions with you about what Roadcraft does better than Snowrunner. Now, as I said, it's just my opinion, you don't have to agree with me, and I would actually encourage you to share your opinion in the comments, because I'm genuinely curious what people think about this game and the changes that it implemented. Also, I would like to point out that developers themselves said that this game is not supposed to be a sequel to Snowrunner, and it is completely separate game. However, based on the fact that it's from the same developer and it's quite a niche genre of games, there is not much else to compare it to. That's why I decided to compare it to Snowrunner. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the map. Now, the map, in my opinion, is done way better than it is in Snowrunner. It's actually not supposed to be called a map because it's basically the bird's eye view of the whole area. So unlike in Snowrunner, which I'm sure it happened to you at some stage, when you see the road on the map, it does exist in the game, and the other way around, unlike it was in Snowrunner. Also, the list of vehicles is much easier to read. As you can see, it has a tiny miniature of the truck that you're looking at, so the game doesn't require you to memorize all the names of all the trucks. You can just look at them and you will know exactly which truck you're looking at. And the next thing I think it's done better is the crane controls. Now, I know what you're gonna say. The community is divided on that. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm one of those guys that I actually love the new crane controls. I think they are way more intuitive. However, I can see the point if someone was spending hundreds of hours in Snowrunner and they're used to Snowrunner controls, they're completely lost in this game. And if you're one of those people, you can totally go to the game settings, scroll down to the very bottom, and experiment with different crane control schemes. Maybe one of them will be more suitable for you. Talking of cranes, I think it's worth mentioning that cranes are generally way stronger in Roadcraft than they ever were in Snowrunner. Of course, we're not talking about the mods right now, just a basic game. For starters, the cranes give you an option to toggle attach mode, which basically means it's little one-point attach mode or multiple attach points. That in itself makes operating the crane much more enjoyable because you can just keep your load leveled. And on top of it, as you can see, they're much stronger than they ever were in Snowrunner. Obviously within reasons. If you're using a small crane and you're trying to lift something extremely heavy, it will still tip you over. However, in general, they are much stronger and much easier to work with. I'm sure it happened to you in Snowrunner that you were trying to lift something that logically you should be able to, only to find your truck on the side 10 seconds later. Well, that shouldn't happen in the Roadcraft. Now, of course, I have to mention the graphics. The graphics are much better than they were in Snowrunner, but that's to be expected. To be fair, it's a much newer game, and I don't think anyone expected graphics to get worse. The scenery looks really good, including the rain effects, the raindrops, everything looks really nice. Even the small touches like the fact that when it rains and your truck is dirty, it gets gradually cleaned by the rain. I really like those little things. The next thing I have to mention is the cargo. Finally, you are not being restricted by the cargo slots. So the cargo slots are completely gone. You can load as much as you wish on any truck. If you overdo it, like I did in the background there, the physics will take over and you just won't go anywhere, or you will end up driving on your back wheels with your front wheels up in the air. But the game doesn't restrict you what kind of cargo you can put on it or how much you can put on your truck. And as you can see in this example here, I can perfectly fine load the cargo on what is considered the vehicle transport truck, and on top of it I can actually strap that cargo onto it as well. So I really like this change because it opens up a lot of possibilities. Now, the vehicle physics, I need to mention those as well because they're definitely improved. Like, my steering wheel is not supported right now by this game, but even on the controller I can feel the difference comparing to Snowrunner. As you can see, even the fact that each wheel has its own suspension and you can feel it working, and you can actually feel it while you're controlling the truck, that the physics are done way better. So if, for example, if you use a dozer, which has absolutely zero suspension, you will definitely feel it on a bumpy road. The next thing I want to talk about is they introduced the spawn vehicle. This is the one you're looking at, and basically how it works is it allows you to recover your trucks, your vehicles within its range. Now, that's not free of charge. if you want to recover any of the vehicle, you're gonna have to pay the fuel cans. The fuel cans, you're getting them by completing the missions, or alternatively, you can actually buy them from the construction depot. As you can see here, I am on the sunken map, and the construction depot is pretty much in the center of the bottom of the map, and one fuel can cost 1500 credits. And I don't think I have to explain to you how many possibilities that opens up. Now, another thing that I really have to mention, and I think it's one of the biggest advantages of Roadcraft over Snowrunner, is the ability to interact with the object. So I'm sure it happened to you many times in Snowrunner that you kept getting stuck on the same tiny little stone, and no matter what you did, you couldn't get rid of it. Well, now there's ways to get rid of it. There's loads of vehicles in this game that can help you with that. I personally prefer the Kronwerk L34, and you unlock it relatively quickly in the game, and it costs 26,000 credits. Now, it takes some getting used to before you will be really effective with this truck. However, you finally have the way to clean up the road before you send, for example, AI or your less capable trucks down this road. Now, lastly, I need to mention sand quarries, road building, and bridges. I know it's not fair to compare it to Snowrunner because nothing like that existed in Snowrunner. However, I think it's important to mention that as it creates way more possibilities to solve the terrain problems. So in Snowrunner, if you had to get from A to B, you usually had 2, maybe 3 routes to choose from. Here in Roadcraft, thanks to that simple mechanic, there is always way more possibilities to get from A to B that there ever was in Snowrunner. So even though it's not really fair to say that Roadcraft did a better job because it has road building and bridges, in a way it did do a better job by creating new possibilities and new ways to combat the same problem, which in my opinion makes the game way more enjoyable and way less frustrating. But tell me what you think. Did you play it yet? Do you like the new mechanics introduced in this game, or do you feel like Snowrunner did a better job and you're not a fan of all the changes? And if you're thinking of mentioning the fuel and the damage, it will be coming to Roadcraft. The developers confirmed it. So if you're one of those people that really miss the fuel and the damage, it will be here. So don't worry about it. Now, I hope you enjoyed the video and maybe learned something new. If you did, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.